free to attend. We have a full menu. Yes, it is.
Whose idea was that?
We have a full menu and a great bar, good wine list. So come on out and be a part of the show. All of our members in the audience will receive a special gift from the show. Yep, gifts and
We must be desperate to have people come to this.
For reservations, go to McLoonesRadioShow.com. And now, here's your host, Tim McLoone.
Here I am. I am still here. God only knows why. You know, speaking of special guests I want to talk about next time, next week we're going to have three really cool guests. First of all, Father Alphonse Stevenson, who is a Catholic priest, but he's also a chaplain in the National Guard, but he also was the orchestra leader for Chorus Line on Broadway. Go figure, we're going to figure that one out. And he also was the person who officiated at Beth and my wedding. So, as I said last week, I'm not sure we're still married. I don't know. But if that was
or if you ever was, right?
Well, if I ever was, that's what I'm saying. And also the vocalist for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Chris Pinella, will be here. And award-winning writer and commentator on apparently you came a week early. And on Thoroughbred Industry Bill Finley will be here next week's show. Also want to tell some upcoming things I actually mispronounced, and he'll let me know about this. Southside Johnny's band is not the poor souls, it's the poor fools. The poor fools. Exactly, thank you, Lisa. They'll be here on Halloween night, October 31st, which is absolutely brilliant on my part. And I'll be here tonight, actually. No, next week. I'm thoroughly confused. When we do the show next week, I'll be saying, I'm here tonight. Right. That's all I'm saying.
She'll be here in a couple weeks.
I'll be here with the Shirleys doing their girl group show on Saturday, October 12th, and I hope people will consider coming to see that. But we have, speaking of girl group, this is a woman singer here, Lisa Sherman. Thanks so much for being here. Lisa, you have one of the most varied backgrounds of any person we could possibly meet. Tell people some of the things that you've done in showbiz.
Hi.
Oh, you did that? I didn't know.
Well, yeah, it is rather diverse. I always grew up being an entertainer as a young child.
What were you hearing in your house? I mean, what music was playing? Because in my house, it was really mostly Broadway. My mom loved My Fair Lady in Oklahoma and South Pacific. That was the soundtrack of my childhood.
There was not a lot of music in my house growing up. Actually, the reason I became so involved and engrossed with music is because I was always grounded. I was a bit of a naughty girl, and I was always getting in trouble. And
that hasn't changed, really, Liz.
No, it hasn't changed. My musical tastes have.
In fact, I'm amazed you were allowed to come here tonight. For
That's personal.
You have to be home in like 20 minutes, I think, so we better hurry.
It could be. So I was always sent to my room, and I always enjoyed listening to music. That's what kind of got me out of being upset that I couldn't go out and play with my friends. And because I figured if I was stuck home, I would make my parents more miserable if I played a lot of music very loud. And when I did that, I would sing to it. And truly, that's how all this started. I did some great performances in my room.
They're legendary.
No one's ever seen it.
Speaking of YouTube, too bad there wasn't a YouTube.
Thank God there wasn't.
Well, I don't
but
know.
that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah. So what were you playing when you were this rascal teenager and all this stuff? What were you listening to and singing along to?
I always enjoyed the theater. That was hands down. I just loved the performance aspect of theatrical music, and I always had this love for West Side Story.
Yeah.
And that was my first Broadway show. That was my favorite musical. So I would sing every song. I would dance. I mean, the song America, I would be clomping on that floor to make them really upset. My family was like, okay.
Thanks now?
They were like, okay, you're not grounded anymore. Get out. You know,
you can't take it.
You can't take it anymore. So West Side Story, I loved. The Beatles. I was a huge Beatle freak, and I loved Linda Ronstadt. I loved.
You know, we were just talking today with the Shirleys about doing a Linda Ronstadt show because she's lost her voice. She's said she can't sing anymore, and I just think that would be an amazing thing to do. So we're going to try and take that on. We're not going to
What a
tell
good
them
idea.
because they'll probably stop us. But,
What a good idea.
what are those people doing? Tell those people in New Jersey to stop doing my
We
material.
would go from like trying to portray West Side Story, that music, and then go into something like country, like
Yeah.
Linda Ronstadt, and then I would flip sides, and I always enjoyed something different, like Aretha Franklin. I mean, just trying to do different vocals and trying to portray the different characters,
Yeah.
and that's how I trained myself. And it hasn't stopped, because even the shows that I do now, I like going from Broadway to classic rock and everything in between,
Which I think is the hardest darn thing to do, particularly
Yeah, it
when
is.
you say Broadway and classic rock. I think the people can't do it.
Yes, they can.
You know what I mean? It's very. I've been in the company of many Broadway performers who cannot do rock and roll,
Yeah.
and certainly the reverse
They
is
weren't
true.
grounded.
There's lots of rock and rollers that aren't going to be doing South Pacific anytime soon, but. You know what I mean? It's just a tough genre, and I couldn't even technically tell you why it is difficult. But I think that, you know, with rock and roll being based on the blues, and the fact that there's a slide to those notes, they're not, here's the note and you're singing a specific thing. There's a way of
It's
doing
different vocal techniques.
totally different thing.
And I always enjoyed trying to do something that I thought I couldn't. I was always rebellious that way. If someone said you can't, if someone says you can't do it, oh yes, I will. I'll at least try.
Yeah.
And vocally, I found it was always a challenge. I would find different artists to portray. As I said,
Yeah.
even something like Patsy Cline, going from that to whoever. I mean, just
No, I understand.
different people, different techniques, different sounds.
Well, Lisa Sherman, we're going to ask you to give us some of those sounds in a few moments. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, you're going to hear Lisa Sherman do some singing for us. With a good friend of ours who